But if I'm to tell you this story, it must be told from the beginning. This was our world. Then the Perlas appeared, and everything changed. They revealed a great secret to humanity, a great power, the Pálido. We built ourselves a sublime domain. The Perlas glowed for us. Yet as time passed, we realized everything has a price. You all know what happened next. The Cataclismo. The land was drowned in mist, and from this mist, on pale legs, emerged fresh horror. The survivors ran. They sought a new home, scrambling to higher ground to save themselves. That is how Ciudad Hogar was founded. The city where we have been surviving for generations.
Hey people, Voice talking to you, and today we're taking a look at an upcoming RTS city builder horde survival strategy game called Cataclismo. In this post-apocalyptic world, you must build up strongholds and defend them against hordes of enemies after the mysterious mist either killed most of humanity or twisted them into nightmarish creatures called horrors. If you'd like to check the demo for this game out for yourself, there will be a link for you down in the description, but be quick because this title is set to release in early access on July 22nd. Which is why I figured now would be a great time to see what it has in store. If you'd like to hang out with us when we play through these games live, you can also find a link to my Twitch channel down there. Now, the event known as the Cataclismo began after humanity uncovered a series of magnificent treasures known as the Perlas. Whether these giant magical pearls actually contain some kind of sentience is yet to be seen, but they led humanity to incredible discoveries. That was, of course, until something changed, and the mist appeared. This beautiful but lethal iridescent fog covered the lowlands, killing most of humanity and assumedly warping living creatures into bloodthirsty monsters the survivors called horrors. Humanity survived for generations after this event by retreating to fortresses high above the mist, and there they founded a great city called Hogar. One day, however, the high scholars of Hogar discovered a baby outside their door. This baby, whom they named Iris, had a perla embedded in her chest. Iris grew up to become one of the greatest defenders of Hogar and began to manifest abilities known as RTS, magical skills that defy the very laws of reality. After Iris receives a vision about an oncoming army of horrors, the likes of which even Hogar wouldn't survive, she sets out on a quest for the so-called Alta Perla, in the dangerous, mist-covered old lands. This Perla is said to be the oldest and most powerful and could hold the key to reversing the Cataclismo. Overall, the story is surprisingly gripping. It's not too often you find an RTS like this that has such an involved story with well-written characters and plot lines. Of course, this angle on the monster apocalypse trope has been done before, but I don't think I've ever seen it done quite this way. Plus, the art and visual style of this game are so good. The cutscenes are all these overlapping, gorgeous scenes with a ton of detail put into things like clothing styles and architecture that offer a glimpse into the culture of Hogar's survivors. And it's all done in this really fantastic hand-painted style. And the devs didn't skip out on the audio elements either. Every cutscene is voice acted impressively well, and they absolutely killed it with the music. The music is so good. The models of units, buildings, and the environment as a whole are just as detailed and interesting. It all comes together in this somewhat muted color palette to make the world feel dark and devastated, but also beautiful and mysterious. Okay, so Cataclismo is a good-looking game, but is it any fun to play? If I had to pick a title that this game most reminds me of, I'd actually say They Are Billions. Of course, that game didn't have the terrain variety, verticality, or structure depth of Cataclismo, but the overall feel was somewhat similar. The campaign mode tracks progression through the use of a map where the player can choose their next level. We only get to try out a few of these, but I imagine most of these in the finished version will involve establishing a functioning fortress, eliminating a certain enemy, or simply finding your way to the end of the map. The game map, by the way, is three-dimensional and offers different environmental factors such as deadly mist, materials to salvage, and resource nodes. Your military units can be moved around, grouped together, and otherwise controlled just like any other RTS, but with a lot more quality of life improvements. In fact, pretty much any time I asked myself, can I do this, that, or the other while playing the game, the answer was usually yes. You can quickly rotate the camera in increments or adjust it smoothly. You can zoom in and out or zip to a bird's eye feature where you can quickly jump from one side of the map to the other. You could even toggle this transparency mode that allows you to see inside structures so you always know where your troops are. From a UI perspective, Cataclismo was ready for everything I threw at it, and it offered a stylish, sleek display that stayed out of the way but still visible. Even the vignette that appeared at the corners of the screen when the game was paused swirled with the pearlescent lines of the mist. Now, we're only introduced to 3 units during this demo: Iris, our hero character, the Lobber, and the Archer. Different units have different ranges, damage levels, health, and preferred height. Archers gain benefits from being placed well above their targets, while Lobbers, which are essentially grenadiers, function best when they are level with enemies. These units also have excellent animations and unique voice lines that they'll bark out when you select or move them. During the early stages of the demo, we're taught movement and basic building mechanics by marching a couple of units across various gaps and cliffs. I actually quite enjoyed these little building puzzles, as simple as they were, and I imagine there'll be more complex puzzles like this in the finished game, or at least I hope so. Speaking on the building, Cataclismo actually has one of the most unique building systems I've seen, allowing players to place individual blocks out of wood or stone that each have weight and support levels of their own. Wood is weak but cheap and good for temporary structures or those you don't expect to face enemies. Stone is sturdier but much heavier and requires more support. Additionally, stone becomes stronger the higher it's stacked. Now, before we dive straight into building a fortress, let's talk about the city management aspects of the game. Players will need to manage their population and supply lines if they want to build defenses and train new troops. That means constructing homes and harvester structures such as sawmills and quarries. And since the old lands are plagued by the mist, we'll also need air filters to produce enough oxygen to keep our citizens alive. Of course, quarries and sawmills will need to be built near trees and ore veins, but air filters benefit from how high off the ground they are. Each building will also need a clear path to your citadel at the center of your fortress. Roads are set up automatically, but you'll need to make sure there's a clear path, and the shorter the route, the faster supplies are delivered. This is where the city building strategy comes into play. In addition to using structure blocks like stairs and struts to make paths, players can also stack buildings on top of each other. Most structures have at least one flat portion where another building or various structure blocks can be placed as well. Building vertically will not only save you space, but can also allow for easy access to high places and good vantage points for air filters. Vertical building becomes particularly important when you realize you can only construct buildings within the territory of your central stronghold. In another feature that reminds me of They Are Billions, you can expand this territory by constructing beacons, which add their own radius to that of your stronghold. But you'll need to be careful, because these beacons also attract horrors. Structure blocks and walls, however, can be built anywhere you currently have vision. These structure blocks I keep mentioning are going to be the foundation of your defense as well. We're given a surprising variety of options with these pieces, from corners, gates, pillars, archways, struts, and stairs of all different kinds. And we won't just be placing a wall and calling it a day, we will actually be building these fortifications brick by brick. Don't freak out though, these bricks are like a meter in height, and the tools for doing this are pretty simple to understand. And if you misplace a piece, you can always recycle it and get the resources back. This dynamic system allows for tons of creativity, and the addition of tactical structures such as traps, merlons, and banners adds another layer of strategic gameplay to the building, in addition to the ability to play into the strengths of your troops. I already mentioned that high walls are stronger, but they also provide an ideal firing position for archers, and if a merlon is placed in front of them, they gain an additional boost to their firing range. However, lobbers are best placed on struts or arches near the base of a wall, since they gain splash damage bonuses for being near to level with enemies. In addition to finding a way for troops to move in and around your fortifications, there's a lot of strategy involved in the way you build things. And this is important, as each night a swarm of horrors will attack your fortress. The size and strength of this opposing force is made known to you ahead of time, but these swarms can number in the hundreds and are not to be underestimated. While I didn't see much variety in the different kinds of horrors, I'm assuming we'll be seeing lots of different monster types in the full version. The horrors we did see, though, are aptly named. When these flesh-colored creatures surround your walls in a writhing sea, the sound is extremely unsettling. Oh, their noises are so creepy. They sound terrifying. Horrors may not be much of a threat on their own, but when they gather each night in the hundreds, even sturdy stone walls will quickly be devoured. The daytime isn't exactly safe either, though. and probing attacks once your settlement has been discovered will continue, constantly searching for weak points in your defenses and hunting any troops you have out searching the wilds. Frankly, I think these horrors are a pretty unique and solid choice for an apocalyptic foe. They're uncanny, they're freaky, they're gross, and the idea of the tower you're standing on suddenly collapsing and dropping you into a sea of these things to be torn apart is seriously disturbing. Their surprising intelligence also makes them more dangerous, and the fact that they were once something else makes them that much more unsettling. Overall, they have an impressive sense of threat. Oh god. That is so cool looking though. I'm also morbidly fascinated by what these monsters once were and how they came to be. It's easy enough to assume that they were human and the mist warped them, but that isn't directly stated, and I get the feeling there's more to it than that. I also really want to know what the deal is with these Perlas, where they came from, and what they have to do with the mist, and of course how Iris came to be and what her purpose is. Is she really secretly a horror in disguise like some of Ogar's scholars claim, or could she be the salvation that humanity has been waiting for? The art style, charm, and world building of Cataclismo is all quite well done, and I'm much more invested in the story than I thought I would be. On top of that, the gameplay is a challenging mix of RTS and city building with a super unique twist on verticality and dynamic construction. It's like playing with Legos, except, if you aren't smart about how you stack those Legos, people end up being eaten by flesh monsters. For someone as nitpicky as I am about UI, because after all, it is how your players interface with your game, I couldn't really find any fault with Cataclismo's design, which is pretty impressive. The only thing that bugged me a little about this title was the lack of variety in buildings, troops, and enemies. But this is a demo, and the finished game will likely remedy that. Overall, I'm quite taken by Cataclismo, and I can't wait to see how the story and game evolves. But then again, I'm just a voice in your head, so let me know what you think about Cataclismo. Do you like the building system, or is it too meticulous for your taste? Does the art style remind you of any other games? Let's talk about it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like really helps me out, and subscribing is of course the best way to keep more videos coming your way. Thank you so much for listening to me today, and you'll be hearing from me again real soon.